To hand over the dais to the most important person today in this meeting here, who is joining from his country, and the time there is morning too. And I don't have words to say thanks to him, so I'll not try to attempt it. But before we really start with Mac, I would request Smita ma'am if she can just introduce in brief about Mac to us. Smita ma'am.
Sure. Thanks, Gagan. And it's a pleasure to talk about MAC here. Uh, MAC is a global networker, has consulted for emergency services, global charities, telecoms, top 100 law and financial institutions in, take a breath, in Australia, South Africa, and Europe, Malaysia, and Canada.
Great.
Educating businesses and entrepreneurs on strategic networking and collaboration, currently helping business survive and succeed through the global pandemic by leveraging LinkedIn to grow their reach beyond their local geographic areas and gain actual business through LinkedIn. Wonderful. We are looking forward to that. Going from no result from LinkedIn in 10 years to helping over 50 businesses get results and helping many go from never having posted to become authorities in their space in as little as 12 to 24 weeks. Incredible, incredible. I'm so glad to have done this introduction for you, Matt. The stage is yours. Thank you.
Mac, please unmute yourself. You are muted right now. Thank you. I'll just stop the slide share, Mac, and put the focus onto your face so that members can have a look at you as well while you speak. Go ahead, Mac. It's all yours.
Thank you very much. And may I say namaste? Is that correct?
Absolutely correct, Mac.
Excellent. And happy Diwali for everybody that has recently celebrated, and Happy New Year to all those businesses that are stepping into your new year. I'm very excited to be sharing with you today some of the experiences that I've had over the last 8 to 10 months. And it's been really nice to actually have a bit of a conversation prior to this with some of you and just see your faces and hear your voices as well. So I'm looking forward to connect. This morning, I wanted to speak to you about the power of collaboration and networking and using the technology that we have at the moment to really leverage your own business. What I found, just a little bit of history, is prior to lockdown, I was doing a lot of traveling, flying around the world, spending far too much time in airports, hotels, and time that wasn't as effective. And what I found was the moment we went into lockdown, we had a lot of people that were in a situation where they were spending a lot of time online, but their voices were not being heard. And I don't know if you heard that. Is my video, by the way, backwards, my screen?
Mac, you are seeing it the backwards, but we are seeing it absolutely fine, so no issues.
Okay. I was wondering what happened because everything flipped upside down.
No, it's absolutely right.
Excellent. So one of the things that I really found frustrating at the beginning of lockdown, and this is something that I found over the last 10 years, is some of you, is everybody on LinkedIn at the moment, or are there some people that are kind of new to getting onto LinkedIn and starting to use that for business?
I think all of us who are here are on LinkedIn.
Are on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I found is for my first 10 years on LinkedIn, I was spending some time, posting on LinkedIn, trying to get attention, trying to network with people, and then obviously attending a lot of face-to-face network events. But one of the things that I found really frustrating about face-to-face networking events, even on Zoom, was the fact that the moment you left the room, effectively, you were out of sight, out of mind. And that became a challenge, because when you were doing business with somebody, the main focus that we have is trying to complete that business for ourselves so we can complete that transaction and move forward, and we can do our own business first. And then only if somebody asks for a specific service or a trade, then we would think about somebody that we can introduce. But unfortunately, the trust factor was still something that wasn't very high. And the challenge that you had with the trust factor is, just because you're in the same network, unless you've personally done business with somebody, and unless you know what their reputation is, it's very difficult to know whether your business's reputation is on the line by recommending that person. So even though many of you may have been part of various different network organizations, I've done lots of networking, including things like BNI and various other large network organizations. And our reputation, or as my father taught me, is your name is the only thing that you can have, and you've got to look after it. And that was a big challenge for me, is being able to refer somebody if I haven't personally done business with them. Now, what I found is LinkedIn over the last 8 to 10 months has become the highest and the most trusted resource online. Because if you go and put your name into Google, what you'll find is your name will come up on the first page of Google, but it will be on the LinkedIn website. And if you don't have your LinkedIn, and as Gunjan mentioned earlier, if you don't have the first few words, as an example, just on a post, exactly the same on your profile, if that isn't up to speed and says what you want your potential prospect to learn and to know about you, then you're losing that opportunity. Now, if you go on to the post that was done about this event, you'll notice that quite a few of my network have already engaged. And that is a pure picture of the willingness to do business with specifically India. Quite a few people that I've spoken to when I mentioned this event and who had seen it on LinkedIn has said to me, how do I get involved? Where can I get introductions? And because the globe has become such a small place over the last 8 months, we've now got the opportunity to reach out to somebody and also do a bit of a search on them and have a look at who they are, what they do, who their connections are, and more importantly, what other people say about them. So, prior to lockdown, of course, a lot of people were involved in various international businesses, import, export, IT services, and India is well known for its extremely great IT services, telesales, and various other industries. But it wasn't something, it was always done over the phone. So the trust factor for not only for India, but many, I come from South Africa originally, and there are lots of call centers out there as well. But local people were very reserved and more concerned about doing business abroad because it was an unknown, it was something out of their control. And now it's a natural thing to have a conversation with somebody on the other side of the world. The beauty of it is we can look at each other eye to eye with the beautiful technology of Zoom that we have today, but you also have the ability to go onto profiles like LinkedIn and go and check somebody out and see what other people say about you. Now, the important thing about collaborating and leveraging LinkedIn is it's not a platform where you can go and just post something once or twice and expect people to do business with you. You have to be consistent. You have to deliver value. And LinkedIn looks after you and gives you more exposure with the more value you bring to the platform. And that is where people learn to trust you. What I have found over the last, as I mentioned before we started this morning, over the last 6 to 8 months, I've been able to do business with people in countries that I'd never even imagined I would have come across, purely because somebody has read my post, sent me a message, and I've engaged. And that's one of the really important things on platforms like LinkedIn, is if people are engaging or taking the time to engage and comment on your posts, is to make sure that you go back and you comment and engage with them as well. One of the things that I found a lot of businesses were having a challenge with pre-lockdown is competition, because everybody was trying to work in their local area or their local city or even nationally. And the common conversation would always be, there is this company that I'm in competition with, or this company that I'm in competition with. And I did an interview a few months ago with somebody called Chris Reed, who phenomenal man, very strange he's got a mohawk as well, but he's also known as the only CEO with a mohawk, and consults on behalf of Forbes and various other people. And on my YouTube channel, Life Hacks with Mac, I've got to interview a lot of experts from around the world. And one of the things that we discussed was the 1% factor, because 1% of a local marketplace is tough, because you're competing with other businesses in your local area. But if you go and you aim for 1% of a global market, the opportunities are endless. And one of the things I found previously in networking, I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, is networking events would always be locked down to one person from one industry so that you wouldn't be competing with anybody else. And what I found is through collaboration and working with competitors, I'm now working with other LinkedIn experts from around the world, and I'm actually bringing so much more value to my clients, because it's not just me trying to protect my little bubble, trying to work within my local little area where, oh, this other person is going to step on my toes. 1% of a global network, the opportunities are endless, and the opportunities just to connect with people in cities that you'd love to go to one day. So really, your imagination is your limit. Has anybody heard of the 1990 concept?
No.
Okay, so let me explain to you quickly, just on social media and networking, LinkedIn specifically. There's a concept called 1990. And what that means to you is that only 1% of the people on the platform are actually bringing value to the platform. So for me, that's just an exciting statistic, because that means that 99% of your competitors are not bringing any value. So all you have to do to absolutely supercharge your business right now is become one of that 1% that are contributing. And to make it even better, bring value. Because as you will see, there are a lot of people that will bring a sales pitch. Every post is, do business with me. I'm selling this, I'm selling this. Show people that you've got expertise. Show people what value you've got, the knowledge that you have. Ask questions, engage with people so that they can see truly you are an expert at what you do. And that will open the whole world to you. Now you have another 9% of people that have to engage. Now, I would urge everybody in this network, whenever there is a post about this network or about your events, to go and engage with those posts. Because what that 9% does is tell LinkedIn that somebody is interested in that content, and then LinkedIn will show it to the other 90%. But if only, and that's why you'll see a lot of people post, and if you look at the bottom of their post, it will say, be the first to comment. And that's if there's nobody commenting, LinkedIn goes, okay, well, nobody's interested. We're not showing it to anybody else. And the same applies to your own network. So if you haven't engaged with, even if you've got a network of 10, 15, 20,000 people, if you haven't engaged with them in the last 6 to 12 months, the reality is they are not seeing your posts, because LinkedIn the algorithm picks it up that, well, you haven't engaged with them, so we're not going to show them in your feed, and we're not going to show you in their feed because there's been no common interest over the last 6 to 12 months. And honestly, how many people, by the show of hands, when you see LinkedIn recommending a connection, just hit the connect button? Anybody do that? Nilesh? I can see one face there. And a few others. The reality is, it's about building a really strong network. So it's really important that when you're connecting with people, make sure that you message them, you connect with them, and you actually reach out. Because the reality, if you've connected with somebody, but you haven't conversed and actually exchanged any message, in a month's time, 6 months' time, you actually don't exist in their world, because they don't realize you're in their network, because that click was a nanosecond. So really important. If you want to get on somebody's radar, engage with them, comment on their posts, and make sure you exchange messages. Does that all make sense so far?
Absolutely. Lot to
Okay.
learn.
It's so, you know, it's real basic stuff. It's about that engagement, that human connection that people are striving for, because we've all been in isolation. So it's so much easier today to also connect with real decision makers and company owners than ever before. Has anybody ever worked in a job where you've had to pick up the phone and do telesales?
Not me.
No? Nobody ever had to make a phone call to try and get business?
Not by phone calls, Mac, but yes, by emails and other things. Yes, a lot of us.
Okay, so the biggest challenge that a lot of companies have got is something called what we call a gatekeeper. So that's, you know, the company secretary or the personal assistant who protects the senior management from other people and marketers. And the reality is, on LinkedIn, you could message the CEO of the biggest companies around the world, and guess what? I've experienced they will answer you. Not all of them, but a lot of them have got more time on their hands, because those senior executives used to spend more time in hotels, on trains, on airplanes, that they've now got this time, this vacuum of time that they've never had before, and they can actually communicate. And that's the beautiful thing of LinkedIn. Some of the relationships we've been able to connect businesses with over the last few months has been absolutely astounding. So, you know, really connect with people. People are wanting to do business with India at the moment. The biggest challenge is the trust factor, because it's unknown. And now we have that opportunity where you can reach out to people, you can connect, but make sure that your LinkedIn presence is showing true value. Make sure that you get recommendations from people, so that you've got third-party recommendations, not just you on your website saying how great you are. And that is going to be a massive game changer for you. You know, that 1% is a massive thing that you can go and take advantage of right now. Are there any questions for me at this stage?
A lot many questions, Mac, but what we will do is we'll take the questions a bit later. And
Sure.
if you are done, we'll move on with the other part of the agenda, and then we will see. We are not going to leave you without those questions, so don't worry. There are a lot
No
many
problems at
more.
all. Thank you so much for sharing, for letting me share as well.
Thank you, Mac. It was really indeed a very informative thing. Absolutely, as you said, the basics coming in, but then those basics are, those need to be brushed at regular intervals. Otherwise, you know, you are not. We call it sharpening the skills, so that's very much required. Otherwise, you know, you tend to forget the basics and you tend to only work on advanced things, and at times you get stuck. What do I do now? So, thank you very much, Mac. It was really very informative, and we will look forward to interacting with you a lot more now, since there is a personal connect as well other than LinkedIn. But before I proceed, what best testimonial can it be to LinkedIn, rather, that me and Mac, we got connected over LinkedIn? And look at the result here. We are together, we know each other now, at least to some extent, and we are knowing each other more and more with every passing minute going by. And we would not have heard so many wise things from Mac had LinkedIn not been there. It was very tough to connect to people sitting thousands of miles away.